Hi, today I want to talk about the Cotes du Rhone area of France. Now, Cotes du Rhone, let's start with just what that is by itself. Okay, the Rhone gets its name from the Rhone River. So this is the river that runs kind of through the middle of the region. Now, Cotes du Rhone, it is not coast or coat like an overcoat, it's C-O-T-E, and there's a little circumflex over the O. And which, other than changing the pronunciation a bit, I have no idea what it means. But anyway, the Cote part is basically means hills or banks, not even banks, more hills. So it's kind of the hills of the Rhone River Valley, if that kind of makes sense to me at least. Anyway, this is a region of France, and it does have a very distinct type of wine to it, flavors, profiles. And part of that comes from the grapes, of course. So let's take a look at the grapes to begin with. Now, I actually have, this is not Cotes du Rhone, but it's not too far from that area, and it is a blend of two of the same grapes. And those grapes, excuse me there, this particular wine is Syrah and Grenache. Now, those are two of the grapes that are used in the Cotes du Rhone area, and I find it interesting to look at the combinations of grape varietals that are used throughout any region, and then compare the same grape when in combination again in a different region. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. Let's finish the grapes. Mourvedre. This one is kind of funky to say. It's just, again, another red grape. These are all red grapes, by the way. Cinsault, or Cinsault, I guess it would be. And Carignan. These are five of the most typical grapes used in the Cotes du Rhone region. When you get to the northern part of the region, it's primarily Syrah. They don't use the others for blending as much, or maybe only blend two. Now, some of the characteristics you will find with this wine is it's got an earthy, dusty taste to it typically. You'll find it tends to be a little bit more tart or acid than some of the other regions of France and other regions of the world. Now, part of this comes from the grapes that are being used, and part of it comes from the terroir, and part in the way that the wine itself is created. So very interesting flavors, and I enjoy it very much. Again, it was one that, for me, years ago, it was a little harder to get used to that one, but I've found with almost every wine, if you try it and then try it again, you tend to develop the taste for it. If it's got something in there that you don't particularly care for initially, you kind of get over that. Now, I say that with some reservation. I still don't care that much for Chardonnay. I'm sorry, Chardonnay lovers, but I just don't like it. And I've tried it from all over, all different styles, and it just, for the most part, all tastes like Chardonnay. There are a couple exceptions, but that's a different video. We're not talking about Chardonnay here. But Cotes du Rhone, that was one that took me some getting used to initially because of the dustiness of the taste. I wasn't used to that. And some of the tartness, like I said, those are two characteristics that come out for me. Now, in terms of describing the flavors of the grapes, it's red wine. You're going to have, and it's a blended wine, so you're going to have a lot of different flavors. I couldn't even begin to tell you what a typical Cotes du Rhone would taste like, other than the earthiness to it and the tendency towards tartness or acid. Now, something to watch for Cotes du Rhone, I probably have already done it, but put the spelling up there so you know. Look for that on the label, and then other things you can look for is you'll frequently find a region of Cotes du Rhone referred to as Chateauneuf-Du-Pape, which was the Neuf-du-Pape. Well, that part is, Du-Pape is the Pope, and Neuf is 9, and then Chateau, of course, is the big cool buildings that they live in. Not the popes, but the people in that part of France. The rich ones anyway. So Chateauneuf-Du-Pape is basically means it was the 9th chateau of the Pope, and that was, I don't know which Pope it was, way back when. Pope doesn't live there anymore as far as I know, and that's how it got its name. But that's something you will see a lot. A lot of the wine from that region that reaches the U.S. anyway comes from that particular part of Cotes du Rhone. Other ones you'll see, and this is kind of typical in other regions too, when you see something similar like village or village, village to Chateauneuf-Du-Pape. So you've got that Chateauneuf-Du-Pape plus village on the front, or what looks like village. That's a different sub-region within. So it's like Chateauneuf-Du-Pape, the official stuff, and then village to Chateauneuf-Du-Pape. Actually, it's kind of fun to say after a while, is an area that's kind of down in the valley where the grapes aren't quite as good as they are higher up in the hills. So yeah, you got your Chateauneuf-Du-Pape up here and your villages down here in the valley. So that's one way. When you see the village in front, a lot of times it's the lesser, not as good growing region, but it's still good wine. It's still very drinkable. Yeah, but generally tends to be a little bit cheaper than that grown up on the hillside. And we've run across this in Burgundy, I think was one of the areas. You'll find it in the Champagne region. You'll find it in a number of areas in France anyway. So anyway, what else can we say about this? Oh yeah. Again, why do we want to know the grapes in a region? This is, to me, it's more interesting than anything else. You know, it's conversation, but I ran across a wine a while back. I believe it was from South Africa, and it had at least three, probably four or five of the varietals that are used extensively or exclusively. No, are the only ones allowed to be used in that area of Cotes du Rhone. And I found these same varietals in a bottle of wine from, I'm pretty sure, South Africa. So I thought, wow, I wonder if this is going to taste like a Cotes du Rhone or what. So, of course, opened it up, tried it. Very, very different. I mean, you could pick out some flavor notes that were familiar, the Grenache, the Syrah, and so forth. But it had a very different style to it. It was much more fruit forward. It was a bigger, bolder than you would expect. The Cotes du Rhones tend to be very thin on the tongue. It's not like, it's kind of like drinking water compared to drinking heavy cream. You know, heavy cream coats your tongue, and water doesn't. Well, the Cotes du Rhone tends to be thinner like water. And again, not that it's watered down. It's just a thinner texture, thinner viscosity. Whereas this other one was a lot more viscous on the tongue. It had a much different mouthfeel, more velvety, and still could recognize the flavors in there, but a very different style of wine. So I was intrigued to see the difference between the same grapes from a different region entirely. So I hope you have the opportunity to experience things like that in your wine drinking career or pursuit or whatever you care to call it. And that's why I kind of like to know what grapes are typical for a region. And this is why when I'm talking about a region, I will always point those out. Some regions don't really have a good one or specific ones, but they tend to get known for something in each region. Otherwise, they'd just be more wine. So in this case, we've got some of those key grapes in the region, and enjoy them. You know, find out what they taste like. You know, and I will say this applies not just to Cotes du Rhone, but if you get a bottle of Cotes du Rhone or anything else and that you've never had before, and you don't particularly care for it initially, give it another shot. If it tastes really bad right off the top, cork it back up, stick it on the shelf, try it again tomorrow, the next day. Let it breathe a little bit. A lot of these European wines, especially made old world style, like Cotes du Rhone tends to be, need to breathe. They need to open up. You can't just always take them out of the bottle and chug them down. Let them breathe. Let them come back to life. And I would also recommend trying them with food. Have a little bit of cheese and crackers at the very least, or have it with dinner, something like that. And you will be amazed at the difference in the taste of the wine and the taste of the food if you do that. So there's to drinking wine, drinking Cotes du Rhone, and we'll probably talk about a couple more regions of France before I'm done talking about regions. So look forward to those. And in the meantime, cheers, enjoy your wine. Napa, Northern California, this is a region that has become very, very well known for its wine, and is probably one of the most ideal growing locations for grapes in the world. The climate is, you can almost set your watch by it. It's so consistent. It's hot, dry days, and you have your cool, foggy nights. It's the soil conditions are ideal for grapes. Now this happens to be a 2005 vintage. So let's give it a pour here. Get my glass. And we now have an open bottle. Okay, give myself a little sample pour there. Now, it's going to be hard to see this way, but Burgundy is kind of typified by a very brilliant red color. Now, this one being a little older, it's a little bit darker. Again, this is 2005. This being 2014, it's 9 years old, so hopefully I've not kept it too long, but we'll soon find out. Very nice color. And I may have to tip the camera up, but I don't know if you can see it that much better. So we'll forego that. Love it. Very, very good. Quick taste and we'll go on here. Well, actually another taste. Okay, this video may get real short, but